WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Scotland, Blair Athol, but bottled by a German independent bottler named MoS, Malts of Scotland. So they named their barrels. This is MoS 20044. Blair Athol, distilled 2009, bottled 2020, in a bourbon's hogshead, 56.3%. Now, my control whiskey was or should have been this bottle here. This is actually a Longmorn from Signatory Vintage. This was also bottled in a bourbon barrel, 57.3%. Now, I'm kind of building up the suspense here because what's going to happen is the following. I'm going to open this can. It is actually metal, which is interesting. I don't know if it's great for the environment or not, but I'm going to pull out the bottle. I'm going to try to have the same effect on my face that I did when I pulled out the bottle the very first time about half an hour ago, and that was the following. It's sherry. That's a sherry bottle, isn't it? And then I read the label. It says here, matured in a bourbon hogshead. And then my first thought was, wait a second, look at these two bottles, all right? So this is a bourbon barrel, and this is a bourbon hogshead. Now, the very first question you ask yourself, or I ask myself, is, what is a bourbon hogshead? Are there even still bourbon hogsheads being used up in Scotland? Yes, but about 10 years ago, they started not using them as much as they do now because it was cheaper to send over the bourbon barrels to Scotland directly from America without disassembling them, but just leaving as they are, and then they were actually put into the warehouses. Worked just fine, especially if they're palletized warehouses. Love them, perfect. Now, way back when, after the Second World War, the Scots figured out if we're going to have a bourbon aging a little bit longer, it's good to have a ratio from wood to liquid, which is higher. Yeah, more liquid than wood. And so a bourbon barrel is smaller, so there's more surface area than a hogshead, 250 liters versus 200. And so they would actually break down 5 of the bourbon barrels and then build them back up, stave by stave by stave, and make 4 barrels out of those 5. Nice, yeah, so 5 bourbon barrels, 1,000 liters, divided by 4, 250, that's why 5 to 4. Sometimes they'd make the ends new because, hey, they didn't fit anymore, they were larger in diameter, and so that's what they use, and we have some very tired hogsheads out there that can produce some pretty good whiskey if you let them set for 20 years plus. Now, I immediately decided not to use this whiskey anymore as my comparison whiskey because it didn't even look the same. Yeah, from the numbers, it looked very, very nice, but from the real whiskey here value, it didn't. If I may, I'm going to get rid of this nice little tin here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up something I've never, ever done before, at least not in my whiskey career. I'm going to pull up Jack Daniel's single barrel strength, 64.5%. Now look at these two. They're the same. Now I have a question for you, and I have a question for the guys who work at the Malt of Scotland in Paderborn, Germany. What the F? I have Lawrence. Hi, Lawrence, back over there in California. He says he watches my videos because he loves that WTF moment. And this was a WTF moment in my life. When I pulled out the bottle and looked at it, I was like, they put the wrong label on this. What's going on? And then I started thinking out loud on my German video, and I came to a conclusion. I think, now I might be wrong, I might be right, but I think what they did is they took an old, tired bourbon hogshead and did the rejuvenation. So they actually shaved it, they probably toasted it, and they recharred it. And then Blair Athol or whoever bought the spirit from Blair Athol, put the whiskey into that rejuvenated bourbon hogshead. And now, after 10 plus years, ta-da! 2009 distilled, and in the cask, 2020 in the bottle. Now, take a look at these two. Do you see a difference? I don't. Hardly. Now, the Jack Daniel's might be a tad bit, but they have the same color profile now, don't they? So what does that tell me? They were basically in the same type of wood. A new virgin oak cask. Now, this was not a virgin oak because it says bourbon barrel on it, but it is definitely here a unique situation that we have. So it's 56.3%. This is 64.5%. So 56, 64. This was 70 euros. This over here is about 70 euros. This is Whiskybase number 177861. We have 277 bottles that came out of there. So a hogshead is 250 liters. So they had about 194 liters. So basically in the 10 years, they lost 56 of the 250 liters, about a fifth. Not bad, not great. All right, so what I'm going to do is, this is 100% barley, malted barley, and this is 80% corn. At least it's a standard mash bill from JD, from Jack Daniels. 8% rye and 12% malted barley. So if I smell it, I'm getting a lot of the typical bourbons. I would not recognize, I would not identify this as a single malt. I just wouldn't. I'm sorry. It actually feels and it behaves like a high-proof bourbon. Over here, on the other hand, there's a little bit more of a sweetness in there from that corn. I really enjoy the Jack Daniels single barrel proof. I think they, Bart on the Scotch Test Dummies named it the double barrel. Good, but there's not two barrels used. It's just a single barrel proof. All right, let's try this. No, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to try, I'll do this first. Okay, let's go for the Scotch. I'm testing this whiskey. 277 bottles out there. Oh, and by the way, if you go to Whiskybase, a lot of people do compare it to Jack Daniels. I don't know who did it first, but I'm doing it not because someone else said it, but because I actually had that comparison in my brain at the very beginning. So I guess there might be some type of similarity here. If you really, really get in there with its 56.3%, you do have a sweetness down below. You do have a brown sugar type of moment. It's not the best nose in the world. It really doesn't draw me in. It doesn't repel me either. It just kind of is there, and you could take it or leave it. Now let's try it. At the beginning, and then towards the end, there's a type of bitterness. There's a little bit of a chalkiness. There's a lot of heat going on in here. It does not develop very well. Pitch, pine pitch. No, I'm so sorry. If anyone bought this like me, I did not do my research. I did not do my due diligence. I just went, oh, look, there's a new bottle. Buy it. And share it with my friends online that I did. So I did a bottle share with this, no problem. Yeah. Look at the pictures online. The pictures actually identify this as that color. And if you look at it at the very beginning, oh, look, it's one of those cherry bottles. No problem. It's sherry, sherry, sherry. And then you read more closely and you go, hey, it's a bourbon hogshead. What the F? What's going on here? I don't get it. All right. Now, just to demonstrate to me, myself, and maybe also to you, I like this. This is 46.5%. Tiny little bit drying at the beginning, but then you get that sweetness. And then it really, really develops towards the end. Nice. You do have a lot of wood. If you're a bourbon, you're not a bourbon drinker, if you're a normal Scotch guy, you come over to bourbon like this, you're going to go, wow, that's too much wood. Well, maybe, maybe not. If you drink this as a Scotch guy, you're going to go, what the? That's not even Scotch, is it? And you look at the label and it says here, single malt Scotch whiskey. So this was bottled, this was matured, and this was distilled in Scotland. Yeah, I don't know what to say. D plus for the value, D plus for the taste, and a F for the value for money. I will not buy this. Now, if you're looking for something very unique, if you're a person who buys bottles and you always think darker is better, buy this bottle, try it, and see for yourself if you like it. Not very many people like it at all. As I said, one of 277 bottles. I have bottle number 106, 56.3%, and it was actually distilled at Blair Athol, the most visited distillery, at least before COVID happened, in Scotland, with over, I think, between 70 and 90,000 visitors a year. So thank you very much. My question of the day is, what do you think happened to this hogshead bourbon barrel? So it says here, matured in a bourbon hogshead. Was it rejuvenated, STR made, with shaved, toasted, and recharred, or do you have another explanation? Write it down in the chat or the commentary in the comments. You can also contact me at whiskeyjason@gmail.com. Write down your conspiracy theories there and tell me what you think. And I wish you all the best. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and tell others about this crazy guy over here in Germany tasting whiskey you'll probably never ever see most of the time. All the best. Bye-bye.